Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the SuperJersh Show, my podcast where I talk about random things randomly, usually gaming, movies, some music stuff too. The last month or so, we did some horror-related episodes where I just kind of talked about horror movies. I still have to wrap around the end of October and the beginning of November and finish talking about some horror movies that I talked about recently. Bats and Halloween 2007, and we'll talk briefly about those at the end of this episode. I also wanted to get back into talking about some games on this episode too, since I've been playing some more. If you like this podcast, don't forget you can find more episodes on my website, SuperJersh.com. If you want to get this show early and ad-free, you can do that by supporting me on patreon.com/SuperJersh. I don't know how you are consuming this podcast, but just also be aware it is available on iTunes and Spotify. Just search SuperJersh. If you want to support me or follow me, the Patreon, the YouTube, the Twitch, the Twitter, and the Instagram are all at SuperJersh. If you want to email me to be a part of the show with your questions, comments, or suggestions, it is SuperJershShow@gmail.com. I also want to mention briefly that I recently made the decision to stop putting the variety stuff on the main YouTube channel. I really tried really hard two or three different intervals over the last year to kind of hit the channel with different video types, and it did not go well, and people did not respond positively to it. And the point was to have a positive response. So anyway, I made the really boneheaded decision to create two spin-off channels. So if you like the stuff that isn't music, I heavily recommend and request that you subscribe to those new channels as well. One of them is for all the gaming related stuff. It's going to go on its own separate channel now. And the video version of this podcast that I put out is actually just going to go ahead and have its own channel, just be a podcast channel, so that people can find exactly what they want, even if it means I can no longer monetize or run ads or get growth from having an already larger channel established. I just think it's better if I just separate the stuff and give in. And I'm old school. I like the variety. I like the one-stop shop. I like going in to a movie rental place and having the variety of, let's go to the horror section, let's go to the comedy section, let's go to sci-fi, rom-com. Like, I want to be able to experience everything all in one spot, but I understand the modern day people don't want to do that anyway. So I'll put links to those channels in the video and podcast description in the show notes here. I can't give them any vanity URLs yet because there are not enough subscribers, because I only recently re-released them and made them available. So check them out. Really want to thank you, new patron Alina. I'm pretty sure I saw Alina commenting on a lot of my reactions, and then they finally said, screw it, I'll go to the Patreon. So thank you for watching the videos, commenting on the videos, and checking out the Patreon. It helps a lot. Thank you, Patreon executive producers Mirrors, Edge Girl, and Triss. And thank you, legendary Patreon producer Zell Binion, who is shepherding us into a really fun end-of-year video series with the Battle of the Bands. I am excited and fearful for the decisions that I'm going to have to make in the future. With all of that said, let's talk about some games. There are a few games that I kind of wanted to talk about. Some of them are repeated. Some of them, it's mostly all repeated. But, what can I say? I like the games that I like, and I want to talk about them. There is a new one, the new Call of Duty. If you're watching on video, you're enjoying Yoshi right now. Say hello, Yoshi. Hi, Yoshi. Hello. Okay, let's say bye now. There you go. So Call of Duty Vanguard, the new Call of Duty from Activision Blizzard, who's currently undergoing a lawsuit, and I have mixed feelings about enjoying their products at this current state and time. I've mentioned it plenty of times before, but just in case you're new around here, I think the Activision Blizzard stuff sucks, and it's a bummer that they make a couple of decent games, and I don't know, I go back and forth. Some days I'm like, I'm not gonna play these anymore, and then some days I'm like, there's a lot of there are a lot of innocent, hardworking game developers that worked on these games and actually care about them and didn't do anything wrong. Maybe I should try to help them, and I don't know. Anyway, so I'm just gonna focus on talking about the games themselves. So Call of Duty Vanguard, I had completely written this Call of Duty game off. I was not interested in it in the slightest. I saw maybe 5 minutes of gameplay um, before playing the game myself. I didn't watch any big time trailers. I didn't follow the announcements. I forgot when it was going to come out. It was my friend Wolf that I think he was for sure going to get it, and I think he reminded me of when it was going to come out. Or I googled it because he had talked about wanting to check it out. Anyway, also you probably already know. I think the Warzone experience is a terrible experience, and it's an embarrassing experience for being like the world's biggest online first person shooter for well over a decade. To have such rampant cheating, such terrible connection when you have, like I have really good internet. My internet is my living. I've got I don't know. I've got well over several hundred megabits down and plenty of up as well. So it's not on my end, my experience with Warzone. I also have really positive experiences with plenty of other games that aren't Warzone. So I know that the connection issue, the lag issue, is not on my end. So it really is. I really fell off of Warzone because of that. It is, if you get a good connection, it's a solid experience. But even with a good connection, their insistence on the crossplay, their insistence of gamepad versus mouse and keyboard, which can never be a fair fight and can never be balanced in the serious way that they want you to take Warzone and take a versus competitive multiplayer game. I'm just not, I just haven't been interested in Call of Duty, specifically Warzone, for a while. I thought Modern Warfare 2019 was incredible. That was my favorite Call of Duty in years. I thought Cold War was garbage. I think we played. I played single digit hours of that game before I deleted it, and I was like, this is fucking awful. Like, I guess I'll use the guns in Warzone maybe, but Cold War, and I guess there's the asterisk of it was primarily developed in the first pandemic year, so there's probably were some unforeseen challenges or obstacles out of the way. I don't know the details of those. I can only look at the game itself, and the game Call of Duty Cold War was terrible. Um, so which brings me to Vanguard, which is I'm at the lowest I've ever been in Call of Duty. Nicholas, thank you for your YouTube subscription. I appreciate it. Probably have those notifications. There. Sorry, distracted by the video side. Um, so I was at the lowest point that I could have ever been for Call of Duty. I haven't played the single player campaign in I don't even know how many years. I don't remember the last one that I played. It might have even been, I don't know, late Xbox 360 or early Xbox One. One of those Call of Duties is the last campaign I ever played. So with Call of Duty Vanguard, I'm like, all right, I have zero expectations. Anyway, long story short, this game is surprisingly good. Um, I've played a few hours of the multiplayer. I'm around rank 29, something like that. So I've played, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours in downtime. Some on my own, some with Wolf, and we both really like the multiplayer. We thought the connection was solid at launch night when it was at its heaviest, where when we were really into Call of Duty and we used to do midnight launch sessions, and it would fall apart. Like, especially I think Call of Duty World War II from a few years ago, it didn't work for the first like 2 hours. We barely got to play the first night it came out because servers were crashed. So to their credit, it was a very solid connection experience at launch time, and um, basically, it is basically Modern Warfare from 2019 reskinned with the World War II stuff. That's the other reason that I was really not interested in Call of Duty Vanguard, is because I really like the Modern Warfare games, and I have not really particularly loved the World War II stuff. It is really hard for me to get this modern gadgetry, these modern guns, these super smooth, badass attachments, and things like that, and modern day locales, it's really hard for me to get invested then in the historical World War II time frames where things have to be stripped down or less. Um, and I think um, I think the reason that this game is mostly successful for what I want it for, which is to get back into the normal, traditional multiplayer of Call of Duty, your kill confirmed, your dominations, your search and destroy, um, and just objective based, play with friends, level up your character, level up your guns, and just have some fun, and it has been that. I have not dabbled into the zombies yet. Um, but I do want to say a few more things on multiplayer before I talk about campaign really quick. Um, so multiplayer, the first time that I booted it up, actually the first time I booted it up, it was the wrong version of the game installed. So much for smart delivery, Xbox. When you went to it on the store, it said the Series X version is waiting for you. It's ready to go. Neither one of them had the Series X logo on it. So I installed that one. Then I go to play, and I'm not getting 120 frames option that Wolf's getting. And we realized that I had the wrong version. Anyway, luckily, I was able to download a 60 gig game in 8 minutes. So I got the real version. Anyway, the first thing that we noticed when we actually played is the super smooth 120 frames per second on Xbox Series X is beautiful. It is awesome. I feel the same way when I went from 30 to 60 frames, becoming a frame snob. Now I feel that same way as 60 to 120, where 60 is still good, but I can tell, right? 60 frames used to be butter, but now it's chunky butter, okay? And 120 frames is that smooth melted butter shit. And that's what I love. Like it's so fluid, it looks weird. It's so clear. The graphics, so the frame rate is fantastic. It's really solid on Xbox Series X on a 4K television. The um the graphics are gorgeous. Like the lighting is incredible, the detail in the maps, the weather environment stuff, all it looks really good. Basically, it's like Modern Warfare from 2019 with even better graphics, slightly more destructibility, and more violence. There's back to a usually when you play a Call of Duty game, there's like no dismemberment and there's no like real blood except for a little spurt. Like you get hit by the bullets and then your character just drops. But in this one, and they seem to do that a lot in the past, it's like I don't know, maybe it's like a policy that if it's for historical context or it's a World War II time frame, then we're okay with the more violent deaths for the online shooter. But I feel like almost all of the modern games don't have that. But in this one, if you shoot a rocket at somebody's legs, their legs blow off. If you get a really good headshot with a sniper rifle, their head explodes. Like it's ultra violent. There is an option in the game to actually turn the violence off if you want to go back to the what most of the Call of Duties have, which is not that. It's just they react from the bullets and fall down with a little bit of blood splatter. So it's cool though because it's like a realistic physics-based dismemberment. So like I said, if you focus it at the legs go. If you shoot their arms when they're aiming at you, their arm will go back. You know what I mean? So it's really kind of responsive and visceral. What else do I want to say about it? The guns. So I said that it was really hard for me to go back to World War II after playing a modern Call of Duty, and that comes down to the gunplay. It is a shooter. You want to have fun, especially me on gamepad. Left trigger, right trigger. I want that to be a satisfying gameplay experience. I want it to be an immersive experience with the response time on the triggers. And when you go back to these older World War II times, a lot of the times it's, well, we regressed because the guns weren't as good 100 or 200 years ago or whatever. And so you usually have bullshit recoil, attachments that don't help you line up things, guns that are, even if the frame rate is smooth, using them is never smooth. This game, I think, makes the really smart decision to be like, no, we're going to give you basically modern gun handling. It's just going to look like older guns. So even though it's the STG and it's the M1 Garand and it's the Type 100, it's still really smooth and really usable. Yes, of course, when you have an assault rifle or a marksman rifle, it's more steady at longer distances And when you have a close combat map, you probably are better suited for a submachine gun, spray and pray, that type of thing, right? Like that is consistent in I think almost all online shooter games, regardless of Call of Duty, but specifically with Call of Duty. Um, and so that's no different here, but it's not so exaggerated or insane to where I feel like I can't use half the guns. I feel like I can use all of the guns. I've used several guns in a lot of different classes for the assault class and the submachine gun class. Like every time I get a new gun, I try it out. And I'm like, well, if I don't like this, I can fall back on the one that I'm comfortable with and keep unlocking the attachments. But they're all very usable. And I can definitely see myself enjoying the yearly progression that I used to do a long time when I was really into Call of Duty with your Modern Warfare trilogy on 360 and even World at War. Like, we found that the friends and I were kind of nostalgic over World at War because that's the one that we were really young. We didn't have a ton of responsibilities. We all worked these kind of crazy second and third shift jobs. So there was a long stretch of time when that World at War game came out where we would just it would like be our own little online gaming world where the same group of guys, 4 or 5 of us, would play World at War every night. It actually got to the point. So there's a game mode. We also play hardcore. We like the faster time to kill, the less HUD obstruction to try to make it more immersive. We want our weapons to do things. We fully understand that if we're caught out in the open, we're gonna die faster too. It makes you think more tactically that way. So we like the hardcore mode instead of the standard modes. But hardcore search and destroy for Call of Duty World at War, we actually played it so much and got so good at it that we were in the top 100 in the globe for that game mode, which it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it was really thousands if not millions of players. And so to be a top 100 team, to have all of us in the top 100 of the rankings was kind of a big deal for us because we were just playing with friends. You know what I mean? It's like the thing we would do after work if the girlfriends or wives are in bed, then you stay up late and play some video games with the guys. It's kind of our thing. But and so this game is kind of making me sort of nostalgic about the World at War days and making me remember what I liked about Call of Duty when I was really into it and the positives of it. And getting to catch up with friends and getting to coordinate and communicate together and just have fun. I mean, games are supposed to be fun. Like, even if you're competing, and yeah, you want to win, but you should have fun too. People on the video enjoying my less obnoxious water bottle so that I can actually use it like I intended to. Um, so yeah, the multiplayer is great. And I want to say again, I can't stress enough how much this is Modern Warfare 2019. From the menu to the weapon customization to the emblem customization, um, to yeah, it's like all of it is like taken from Modern Warfare 2019 because they realized they screwed up last year trying to change everything and making it crappy. Like Modern Warfare pretty much did everything fantastic. um, I would like to see also there's a plethora of maps and I enjoy most of the maps. There's the struggle with Call of Duty and online multiplayers to get all together is the exploits. People want to go to the edge of the map, they want to snipe, they want to hide, they want to spawn camp, they want to do all these. They don't just want to play the game and have fun. And what I mean by that is you can be tactical, you can have a strategy, but if your strategy is remember that I'm playing a video game, find when they spawn into the map, and then just have my number go up without actually playing because they appear into existence and fall down. I just don't see that as playing. I don't see that. That's not even particularly. The only reason I get joy out of it is because motherfuckers do that to me. So I'm like, how's it feel to be spawn camped? That's one of the reasons that I really did like the Battle Royale stuff for a long time and why I still really like search and destroy type games where you only spawn once because it stops that spawn camping. It stops that manipulation of here's where they pop into the game, here's a free kill. Like when you only spawn once, you usually have to play the game. It's a larger map. You can actually get some tactical advantages or determine which side of the map you want to be more aggressive towards. But I do like the maps. There's a little bit of verticality, but not too much. I feel like if there was too much, then it would just be a Snipe City and it would be boring. Well, yeah, like I said, 5 kids lose their minds. Or I can hide on the roof and nobody could see me. Like there is still some of that, but it's not. There's like 5 entrances to like the crow's nest, and it's like snipers don't live very long from what I'm seeing. There's really only one or two maps that I haven't really liked. I think they're well designed. They look good. There's fun paths. There's a lot of chaos. The other thing that they do in this game, which I feel like is new for Call of Duty this year, is they let you choose the player count. If you go blitz, it's like all out war and it's giant like 12v12, which is a big deal for Call of Duty because it's normally small. Or you can go tactical like 4v4 or 6v6 and have smaller teams. Anyway, it's very fun. It's very satisfying, and I'm very happy that the multiplayer is really good this year. I want to talk briefly about the campaign, then we'll move on from Call of Duty. But like I said, I have not played a campaign Call of Duty in so long, I literally don't remember. But I was so impressed by the multiplayer and so fascinated by the graphical fidelity of the high frame rate and just how pretty the game looks. I was like, let's check out this campaign. I don't know anything about it. I just know, I think I saw a 5 minute gameplay from it. I'm like, yeah, it's Call of Duty. Like seeing something on YouTube, at low low frame rate, low bit rate, it doesn't really do the game justice. My intention was I'm going to play like the first 20 or 30 minutes of this campaign just to get a feel for what it's like, and then I'm going to go into the multiplayer and level up. Anyways, I'm 2/3 of the way through the campaign, and I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a really good Call of Duty campaign. I really like the characters. I like the storytelling structure that they're using, which I won't spoil. I like the structure of it. I like how I don't know. I feel like they kind of realized that Call of Duty has become this over the top Michael Bay insane thing. So they find ways to give you kind of memorable cinematic blockbuster moments, but I don't feel like it's so exaggerated as it has been in the past. It's grounded in realism because of the time frame, because of Nazis. Like there is a kind of a realistic feel to it, but it's like realistic asterisk instead of realistic exaggerated. You know what I mean? Like it's slightly creatively enhanced versus some of the insane things that we've seen in Call of Duty's past. But it makes me enjoy the multiplayer more because now that I know these characters' names and I'm attached to their stories and how why they're even in this Call of Duty game and what their involvement is, then I go back to the multiplayer. I'm like, oh, that's that person. Now I know who that is. I know what their personality is like. I know what role they play in the game. Now I probably have more of an appreciation for how they act in the multiplayer and their outfits and the lines that they say for dialogue. The one thing so yeah, so anyway, campaign is very good. I'm already satisfied with it, and I still have like 2 chapters left, I think. So great campaign, lots of variety, really interesting story. I also like I mean, we've seen Nazis in video games forever. We've seen Nazis in Call of Duty forever. I like the angle and kind of the time frame that they tell the story. Anyway, it's a really satisfying campaign. It's a really satisfying multiplayer. Some of the multiplayer things actually took some stuff from Overwatch, which is the other game that I play a lot. So, the new Call of Duty Vanguard has like MVP highlight intro, play of the game highlight intro, and poses that you can do. You've got your different skins for your hero characters, and you've got different quips or lines of dialogue that can be said under certain circumstances. And yes, you know, changing your character's costume and changing the things that they say has been around in forever, but this really specifically feels like inspiration from Overwatch because of how it's laid out and how, and maybe it's just because I play a lot of Overwatch, but it really feels like it's borrowing from there. They even added a new game mode where you have to escort a payload slash objective. They can't put an actual payload on it because it's a really small Call of Duty map, but it's like this little floating circle that moves around the map that you have to protect for points, and you have to attack it and get the points for yourself. Like, which I'm not mad about. I like it makes me like it more. I like having the different operators to level up, and I like that how I can see as the game goes on this year, when people level up and change, now we're going to start to get a variety of looks for these characters, just like you do in Overwatch. Like Soldier and Torbjorn and Brig, like they all look the same at the start, but then you unlock more costumes, you unlock more voice decisions, you unlock more animation decisions, then it becomes your version of the character that we're all kind of playing with. And Call of Duty is doing the same thing this year. So I am still playing Overwatch. I fell off the last couple of months because I was waiting for the Halloween event. When the Halloween event was here the past few weeks, I played a lot of the Halloween event. I got the majority of the Halloween skins that I have, and really my only motivation to play Overwatch at this point is it is fun, but it can be really frustrating when you play on your own, which is why I choose to play with friends or I play with patrons. Like Mirror's Edge Girl has been really, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm looking for a word. What's the word? Well, I think I'm gonna drink water. Generous. Mirrors has been really generous with her time and joining the multiplayer game fun that I've done. I did a Dead by Daylight stream. We played some Overwatch. I'll probably continue to do that for the foreseeable future when I can. That the priority is always the music and the music reactions and the Patreon. And then secondary to that is kind of the gaming and the podcast stuff, which is why it's slightly irregular from a release standpoint. But yeah, my real motivation for Overwatch right now, besides playing with patrons and anybody who wants to get into the game and get leveled up with, because I'm familiar with it, having gotten into it myself the last year and a half, is to unlock golden guns. And you can only do that in the competitive mode, which is the serious ranked multiplayer versus where you're punished if you quit, things like that. And it is a team-based game, so it's really hard to solo queue, to just play on your own and play with strangers and actually be really successful. So my goal, my hope, is that for the new gaming channel, which again, I made a new dedicated gaming YouTube separate from the SuperJersh music reactions. So if you're curious, if you're listening to this gaming segment and for some reason you missed it when I mentioned it earlier, there's a link in the description of these show notes for the new Jersh Plays gaming channel. So I highly recommend that you subscribe. Because if I have my way, I'm going to play Overwatch more regularly and put out some Overwatch highlight videos on the YouTube, as well as some other games that I don't want to say again just now. So slightly getting back into Overwatch again because the Halloween event got me back in. And now that I have all these fun Halloween costumes for everybody, I want to be able to play as the characters and try to force myself to get better and learn some new characters that I don't really play as. And just try to get as many golden guns as I can before Overwatch 2 comes out, which thankfully Overwatch 2 has been delayed until the end of fucking time, so I probably have plenty of time to get as many golden guns as I want. That game recently got announced to be delayed all the way to like 2023. So I definitely think that even though the current plan was to leave Overwatch 1 alone and go full speed into Overwatch 2, I think because of the delay and how dissatisfied fans and hardcore supporters of that game are going to be, I think they're going to retract that, and I think they're going to do some more for Overwatch 1. It might not be a new character, but I would not be surprised if we don't get a new map, some new skins, some new reasons to keep playing and level up and getting those loot boxes. Yeah. So, speaking of Halloween, and my new gaming dedicated YouTube channel, I wanted to let people know that in case you missed it when I tried to put the circle into the square and put horror games on my music reactions channel, I'm re-releasing those videos for people who may be more interested in it in case you missed it, and to help build up the library of the new channel. So if you want to see me play through the majority of the Resident Evil games, The Medium, Detroit Become Human, Overwatch highlights, chess, I watch chess videos every day. Like, if I had my way, I would probably be a music and chess content creator at this point. I would do the music stuff because I'm very passionate about music, and I would play a shit ton of chess to try to get as good as I can because I'm fascinated by the game. I just feel like music and chess are basically the same thing. We all start with the same resources, but somehow, some way, it gets manipulated to become its own unique thing. And it just reminds me of music a lot in that way. So I'm like, I want to learn. Similarly to how I can immediately recognize a song pattern, I want to be able to recognize a chess pattern. And I feel like as a hobbyist, it's within my capability of getting to reaching that goal. because of my history with music and my ability to memorize, like, hundreds, if not thousands, of musical notes that I'm just, oh, I know that song, I know that song, I know that song. It takes years and takes practice and takes time, but that's what I like about stumbling upon chess as a hobby, is that it is a lifelong hobby. You're not intended to just be into it at a certain time period in your life. It is all ages, it is all languages, it is for everybody. It's just kind of incredible in that way. So if you want to see me play through horror games, check out the new YouTube channel. There are going to be several gaming videos released every day over the next several weeks. The mainline, like I said, the majority of the Resident Evil games, with the other games as a second video later in the evening. So like 2 videos a day for a while. And I'm taking suggestions of what else do you want to see on that new dedicated gaming channel. Understand, I'm committed to chess. We're going to see the chess. I'm pretty much committed to Overwatch. We're going to see the Overwatch. The things I'm on the fence about is, do I bring in Call of Duty? Because that is a game that I see myself being dedicated to. Also, Destiny 2. We still play a lot of Destiny 2. I'd say Call of Duty, Destiny 2, and Overwatch are going to be my main console games probably for the next year, for the foreseeable future, from a multiplayer standpoint. Single player, I usually focus on horror games just because I love the Resident Evil series. I love the Silent Hill series. I'm always looking for a new, interesting, spooky world to play in for narrative purposes. And then chess. So I'm open to suggestions of what people, if there's single player narrative games you want a dedicated video series from, or if there's an ongoing multiplayer type game that you want to see regular videos for, make sure comment on that new YouTube after you've subscribed, or email me, SuperJershShow@gmail.com, and let me know. Did you know that if you support me at any tier on patreon.com/SuperJersh, you can get this show early and ad-free? It's possible you didn't know that because you're hearing this promotion right now. And you may also not know that patreon.com/SuperJersh has dozens of exclusive reactions never released to YouTube, including TV show and movie reactions, like The Queen's Gambit, The Boys, Twin Peaks Season 1, Watchmen, and Twilight. But Jersh, I only care about when you talk about music. Why should I go to Patreon? Well, dismissive listener/viewer, the exclusive reactions I mentioned include several music reactions from a variety of artists, including 10-track mixtapes and full album reactions. These are 90-minute videos ad-free of nothing but me reacting to and reviewing music. But Jersh, also, what if I mainly care about your gaming content? Well, then you're a liar, listener/viewer, because nobody cares about my game streams on twitch.tv/SuperJersh. So head on over to patreon.com/SuperJersh now to support me at whatever tier you are most comfortable so that the reactions, reviews, podcasting, and gaming can continue. I want to briefly talk about 2 movies, Bats and Halloween 2007. Full spoiler warning for both movies. They're both older movies by this point. Bats came out in 99. Halloween 2007 came out in 2007. And I don't have I never have a plan for this stuff. I just kind of go off the top of my head of random feelings or thoughts, or really extra things that I've thought about upon reflection after watching a movie. For most of you who already know this, I majority of the time record watch-alongs or watch parties. We either go live on twitch.tv/SuperJersh and do an Amazon Prime watch party where you can actually see the movie on my channel, or over on the Patreon, I'll do watch-alongs where I will watch the movie with the timer on the screen and you can listen to my reaction or watch my reaction as a commentary track to the movie. So for Bats, we did a watch party on Twitch, and that movie starred Lou Diamond Phillips and what was the other? Dina Meyer, which Mirrors pointed out was actually one of the leads in Starship Troopers, which I thought was really funny because I haven't seen that movie in ages. And it was also, I don't know the actor's name, I should have read it. Bob Gunton, who I just call the Shawshank Warden because that's kind of like his most iconic performance, in my opinion. And Leon from a Madonna video and Cool Runnings. That guy was in this movie. Also, was he in Vertical Limit? He was in Vertical Limit also. Big time 90s movie star, that guy, it turns out. Anyway, so Bat stars Lou Diamond Phillips as a sheriff in Gallup, Texas, trying to keep a small town safe from genetically modified bats, which were created by Shawshank Warden. And they need the bat experts, Starship Troopers, and Cool Runnings. They are the bat experts. And the bats are omnivores now, so they eat people. And that's the movie, and it's 90 minutes. And for better or worse, it's exactly what you think it is. Really cheesy effects, both digital and practical. They tried to do, again, I need to rewatch Arachnophobia, but I distinctly remember that there were like two main spiders in Arachnophobia. And I feel like Bats was slightly inspired by Arachnophobia in the opening of the movie, making these two main bats like the leaders of all the bats. And I feel like that was never really paid off in a rewarding way. The prosthetic bats looked goofy. They looked, funny, which I don't think was the intention. I did read a little bit of trivia about this movie. There's not much. But the one thing that was incredible was it set some sort of world record on production time. From the time the script was completed in May to the time they released the movie worldwide in October. So it was like a 5 or 6 month turnaround time from, yeah, this is a good movie, we should make it. It's done. It's done. Like, that's insane. If you think about the practical effects, the locations, the digital effects, just everything that goes into a movie. It's a really fast turnaround time in a movie, which they made all their money back. It was like a $30 million budget. They made it all back on the weekend of, and then people renting cheesy movies ever since then have just been putting green in their pocket. It's all been profit after that opening weekend, which is kind of crazy to think about. Which is why opening weekend is so important for movies, because then you recover your investment and now profit. Anyway, it was fine. I always like seeing Lou Diamond Phillips. Like I mentioned on a previous podcast when I watched Route 666 offline, not with a watch along or a watch party. I just think that he has, there's a certain charisma about him. I've always had a soft spot for the movie La Bamba. For some reason, I remember it always being on television on weekends, kind of like Big Trouble in Little China. It just was always on. And so I know that movie more than I probably should, considering I don't rarely, if ever, sat down and watched the damn thing. I just know bits and pieces and scenes and songs and whatever. Anyway, and I saw Lou Diamond Phillips in the, this is spoilers for YouTube, but not spoilers for Patreon because it's been out there for a few weeks already. The Imagine Dragons video. Saw him there too. But it was fine. It was very predictable. We knew Shawshank was going to turn. We knew, at least I knew, or I called it out, that the movie was going to end in a similar situation where it began, because that's script writing 101. And of course we have Cool Runnings outside with Starship Troopers on the inside, except now we have La Bamba in there too. And there's a bunch of bat shit. And the effect, it was cool. The finale effect of seeing that many bats was cool. But the problem is, I don't know, I feel like with these creature movies, there needs to be a progression. There needs to be an evolution, right? Where, again, I don't know. I keep going to Arachnophobia because it's a 90s creature feature. And it's a pretty damn good one, in my opinion. It definitely sticks out in my memory as an overall good movie. But I remember things progressing. It starts as a small spider, and then it gets bigger, and it's one spider, and then it's multiple spiders, and then there's kind of a leader spider, and then there's actually an infestation plan, and we find the giant web. And anyway, the point is, Here, there wasn't a ton of progression. Like the bats you see at the start of the movie, which at the start are cool. Their eyes glow a different color. They coordinate. They communicate to each other. They're advanced. They're genetically modified, but they don't ever do anything else besides that. The bats don't get bigger. They don't multiply because they're already multiple. There's already a shit ton of bats. I also don't think that they got creative enough with what you do with those bats, with the scenarios that you have. I feel like hiding inside a building and hiding inside a car are like the easiest conclusions to jump to. I just wish there would have been something else. I don't know. Tremors is another really good old creature feature. They're under the ground. Anyway, so Bats was it was enjoyable to watch on stream with the hardcores, the supporters, the people that are able to make those streams, but I don't think it's a particularly memorable movie. I also thought Lou Diamond Phillips' accent was pretty rough, and um, the obligatory romance subplot between the sheriff and the bad expert. I don't know. I mean, thankfully, they never really paid it off with like some giant emotionally invested kiss or now we're definitely in love forever. Like, it just kind of was this kind of friendly, flirtatious thing, and that's all it was by the end, too. It would have been nice if it wasn't there at all because it's not there, in my opinion. Halloween 2007, which I assure you, when I watched that movie and decided to um, give further thoughts on the podcast in the future, I thought for sure the Halloween background would still be on video instead of the Thanksgiving background. But here we are. Time is a flat circle. Anyway, Halloween 2007, directed by Rob Zombie, starring Malcolm McDowell, in my opinion. He's like the biggest recognizable name. Danny Trejo's in it too, but whatever. And I think Mirror said Danielle Harris is one of the girls, which I guess Mirrors, to answer your question here, I think you commented on the watch along on Patreon that you were surprised I didn't recognize that actress. In hindsight, afterwards, I feel like I did. I was like, wasn't that girl like on a bunch of 80s sitcoms or something like that? I couldn't remember. Then when you commented that she was Jamie Lee Curtis's daughter, I didn't know that, so spoilers. B, it was only at that moment that I remember, oh, she's the little girl. She's in the clown outfit on like one of the cases of the Halloween movies that I've never seen. So I was like, oh, okay. So that is, yeah, I guess that's probably a an example of fan service done right, where you bring back this actor who has involvement in the series. They're playing a different character, but hardcore fans like yourself recognized and appreciated that, and she got to do her own thing. I also did read, apparently the again, I'm just stream of conscious here. If you want my thoughts in a row while I'm watching the movie, watch the watch along on Patreon. Apparently, her like being half naked chased around by Michael Myers was a big deal as far as like horror nerds are concerned, because she was like a big time crush for people. And I read in like an interview or in trivia about the movie that like that was a career decision to get naked in this movie. She admits it. She's like, the jobs weren't what I wanted them to be. I got this opportunity to call back to something I did when I was younger, and people were still seeing me as this little girl, so I thought, here's a good way to show them that I'm all grown up now. I'll do the naked chase murder scene. And sure enough, after that, a lot more jobs lined up for her, and so she said that like she was really thankful that she made that decision to agree to the nude murder scene because it made her a lot of money. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know, things that I liked. I mentioned this. I remember saying this in the watch along, and I strongly feel this way because I almost described it the exact same way now, but I'll explain it. What I'm It makes me think of the Star Wars prequels. And what I mean by that, I don't know if I explained that previously in the watch along or not, but what I mean by that is the Star Wars prequels, on paper, if you describe them, if you tell the story of we're going to go back, to the days of the Jedi everywhere. It's the rise of the Sith. It's the rise of Darth Vader. It's the beginning of this galaxy far, far away that you've been obsessed with your whole life. You're going to find out how the pieces were in order and how things started. And you're going to see young Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's going to fight with Darth Vader. And, you're going to get to see Yoda in his prime. And, like, when you say all these things out loud, you're like, holy, oh my fucking God, this is awesome. Oh my God, I'm going to get to see cool Star Wars. And then you see the movies and it's like, it's what you said, but it's not what you said. This is different, right? So I feel like on paper, if you told me we're going to do a Michael Myers origin story where we changed, again, so I guess I should give some context. I'm not overly familiar with the Halloween series. I've seen the first Halloween once, and I don't remember a lot about it. I haven't seen any of the rest of them. I've seen 5 minutes of the third one, but it was at a friend's house when other people were talking, and I couldn't pay attention to it. It was off. I don't even know if it stayed on the background because nobody's watching it. So I saw like 5 minutes of the third Halloween. I think it was the third one. Anyway, so I don't have a context. My only context is that Michael Myers is a psycho who walks around in a William Shatner mask. That's what I know. And so to go full origin story and show, again, here's how a child became Darth Vader. Here's how a child became Michael Myers. Like, I feel like on paper, like, that could be really interesting, but in practice, it wasn't as successful as it wanted to be. I thought it was very juvenile. I thought that a lot of the dialogue was really bad. Like the bad guys, like William Forsythe, who I will just always associate with Raising Arizona, and to a certain extent The Rock, but mostly Raising Arizona, was just like he was like a caricature of cartoon villainry that you would never believe another human being would ever want to interact with. Now I get that the point is that Michael Myers is in a destructive environment and that his mother wasn't a good mother because she didn't keep him out of harm's way and she didn't have that judgment. But what I'm saying is, even if you have bad judgment, interaction between the characters, the characters that are choosing to be there together, there needs to be some sort of endearment or connection between them, even if they're both fuck ups. But I didn't get that at all. So yeah, so spending basically the first half of the movie showing his childhood, and developing where he certain things came from, I thought that was really cool. Like I said, actually love the idea of the movie. I just don't know how much I liked the movie. I thought the dialogue was rough. Some of the characters were rough. It was really cheesy. It didn't have any particularly memorable cinematic moments. Like, I feel like when you're talking about horror movies, you're talking about what's the kill count, what are the kill scenes like, what is the lore, like what type of villain is it, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what can they do. And I always felt like Michael Myers, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I felt like he was almost this immortal antagonist, like a Freddy, like a Jason, who will never die, supernatural. And this movie makes him mortal. He was born, he was a kid, he's a human being. He's strong and he's crazy, but he can be killed. He's mortal. And so I feel like the movie wants it both ways. Give it a grounded, realistic, Batman Begins just came out. Let's do Batman Begins for fucking Halloween. Let's give it a grounded, realistic backstory, humanize Michael Myers, and then do the last 45 minutes or an hour of an actual horror movie after that backstory. And I just don't know if I can't even tell you right now if I remember any of it. I know the girl was half naked running around, and I know that the girl that that was, I don't even think it was trying to be a secret. Obviously, the baby sister years later adopted or whatever. Um, she has like this big final showdown with Michael where she's like crawling around in a house. I think in the watch along, I complained that it cut to black arbitrarily. I was like, why the hell did it just cut to black? I did read in the trivia that apparently there was a pretty serious injury during that stunt and it was captured in the literal, but they needed to use the rest of the footage for the take. So their literal best solution was cut to black. Like if they don't cut to black, you see the injury apparently, which would not be good, obviously. Although, I mean, Tom Cruise broke his ankle and they used it in Mission Impossible. Just saying, it's in the movie. But yeah, I don't know. I don't remember any sequences or any moments. Like I feel like with Freddy, even if I haven't seen them all or I don't remember everything in particular, there are moments, right? The blades coming out of the bathwater, his face in the bed sheet, coming out of the wall, the TV, something or other, the phone. Like there are memorable moments that happen. I'm sure I don't know Friday the 13th as much as I know Freddy, and I feel like a lot of Freddy I know because I grew up maybe watching a lot of like top 10 horror scenes instead of actually watching the movies. I don't know. Because there's a lot of Friday the 13th, or there's a lot of Nightmare on Elm Streets that I haven't seen either. But yeah, I think that's my overall problem with the movie is the application of these ideas and the general forgetfulness the movie has. Because I barely remember it now. Yeah. Um, Positives. Like I said, I like the concept. The idea is cool. But then on the other hand, you make an immortal supernatural villain mortal. Doesn't that lower the stakes? I feel like the stakes are lowered there. I don't know. Anyway, thank you, Mirrors, for your support and for asking me to do that watch along. I probably wouldn't have got around to it otherwise. Apparently there was a sequel to this movie. Everybody says it's garbage. I have no idea what the movie's about. I've never seen a trailer. I have never watched the sequel. Maybe we'll watch the sequel and maybe we'll watch more Halloween movies. We'll see. But yeah. Lukewarm on the movie, but I'm an outsider. I think Mirrors also mentioned that if you were a fan of the original series, that there was a lot of fan service here that kind of makes it better. But fan service, again, should be frosting on a cake of a movie. It should stand on its own for people that don't know. It's just my opinion anyway. Yeah, we will get out of here. Hope to have some more guests on the podcast over the next few weeks. We'll see how everybody's schedules go. But that's going to do it for this episode of the SuperJersh Show. If you like this podcast, make sure you visit my website, superjersh.com, where you can find more episodes. Whether you watch this on the YouTube channel or you're listening early on Patreon or on iTunes or Spotify, thank you. Just as a reminder, just search SuperJersh on iTunes and Spotify. You can find us there. If you want to follow me or support me, everything is at SuperJersh. The Patreon, the YouTube, the Twitch, the Twitter, the Instagram. Follow, it's free. Support if you're interested in the early access without the ads. If you want to email me to be a part of the show with your questions, comments, or suggestions, the email is superjershshow@gmail.com. Don't forget a new dedicated YouTube channel for gaming and a new dedicated YouTube channel for this podcast if you want to see the video version of it. Or if you listen to podcasts on YouTube, which I have a couple podcasts that I do that too. Links for those channels are in the show notes for this. That's going to do it for this episode. As always, thank you for listening or watching. Until next time.